Innie only collected a gift, a chain she thought was just an innocent gift from someone she never thought could harm or hurt her. But that gift, that same simple package, wasn't something that came out of love. It was something she never expected. It came with a price that left her life in grave danger. And if she had known what came with it, she would have never accepted that chain. Once upon a time, there lived a young woman named Innie. Innie was 24, beautiful, graceful, the kind of woman whose presence turned heads even when she said nothing. But beneath her elegance was a quiet struggle, the kind that tired both the body and the soul. She had graduated from university almost a year ago, full of hope and plans. But life after school was not what she had imagined. Countless job applications, the endless interviews, the polite rejections, everything had left her worn out. Every morning she would dress neatly, walk confidently into offices with her brown envelope, and return home with the same envelope tucked under her arm, untouched. Maybe next time, they always said. But how many next times could she survive? Her friends didn't help either. Whenever they gathered to talk, it always ended the same way, teasing and laughter about her struggles. One day they laughed again, but Innie didn't. She only smiled weakly and looked away. That night, when everyone else was asleep, she lay in bed scrolling through her phone. The bright screen lit her face as she opened Instagram. Photo after photo, she saw the same thing. Girls her age showing off new possessions, designer handbags, glowing vacations, expensive perfumes, dinners in high-end restaurants. She sighed deeply, her thumb hovering over the screen. God, I'm tired of living like this, she whispered. I need something to change. I need help. And that single yearning awakened something in her life she never imagined. It was an ordinary afternoon, the kind of hot, lazy day when the sun felt like it wanted to burn the whole city. Innie was walking home from a friend's house with two of her close friends, chatting about random things. Then a black Jeep slowed down beside them. The tinted window rolled down smoothly, revealing an older man inside. His skin was fair, his wrist glittered with a thick gold bracelet, and his calm smile carried an air of quiet authority. "Good afternoon, beautiful ladies," he said in a rich, warm voice. "Where are you heading? Let me give you a ride." Innie's steps slowed, but she quickly shook her head. "No, thank you, sir." Her friends, however, were already giggling. "Ah, Innie, don't be rude," one whispered. "At least hear him out." Before she could argue, one of them had already opened the back door. "Let's just enter. It's hot," Innie sighed in defeat as her friends practically pulled her inside. The car smelled expensive, leather, perfume, and something else she couldn't place. Something colder. The air felt unusually still, despite the hum of the AC. The man's smile didn't fade. "My name is Chief Raymond," he said, glancing briefly at her through the rearview mirror. "And you are?" "Innie," she replied softly. "Beautiful name," he said, his voice smooth and calm. "Nice to see a pretty face today." Her friends giggled from the back seat, whispering to each other. Innie sat quietly, hands on her lap, her heart beating faster than she understood. The car ride was short. Before they got down, Chief Raymond turned to her and said gently, "I would like to see you again, Innie. May I have your number?" Her friends were already nodding before she could respond. "Give him, babe," one teased. She hesitated, but eventually gave him her number. When she stepped out of the car, she found herself smiling faintly, though she couldn't explain why. Something about his voice, or maybe his presence, lingered even after the car drove away. And that was it. Few days later, he called. She was surprised but flattered. They spoke briefly, and he invited her and her friends to dinner. That evening, they met him at a high-end restaurant in Victoria Island, the kind of place she had only ever seen in movies. He was already seated when they arrived, calm, confident, every movement slow and deliberate. Throughout dinner, he talked about his life, how he was a businessman in his mid-50s, widowed for years, and how he found peace in taking care of people who deserved a better life. When the food came, Innie could barely eat. Everything felt too perfect and too unreal. After dinner, when her friends went to the restroom, Chief Raymond leaned closer to her and spoke quietly. "You look too fine to be struggling like this. Can I take care of you?" Innie's heart skipped. She blinked, unsure what to say. His words sounded kind, yet heavy, like a promise and a warning mixed together. I don't know what you mean," she murmured. He smiled. "Don't worry. You'll understand soon." That night, when she got home, she couldn't stop thinking about him. The way he spoke, the way his calm eyes seemed to see straight through her. The next morning, she received the biggest surprise of her life. Her phone buzzed, and it was a credit alert of 350,000 naira. Innie's breath caught. Her eyes widened as she read the message again. Then she noticed the text beneath it. "A small token for my baby girl." Chief Raymond Innie screamed before she realized it. Her friends ran into her room asking what happened. Innie turned her phone to them, trembling. They stared, then burst into screams of excitement. "Oh my God! Innie, he sent you money? 350,000, just like that?" She nodded, still in shock. Her friends laughed and hugged her, teasing her endlessly. "Babe, your luck has finally shined." Innie tried to laugh with them, but her thoughts were scattered. She didn't understand why he would give her such money without asking for anything. That evening, she sent him a message. "Thank you, Chief. I don't know what to say." He replied almost instantly. "You don't have to say anything. I just want you to be happy." Innie smiled at her phone, warmth filling her chest. She felt free and light. But somewhere deep in her heart, something small whispered that nothing good comes without a price. She ignored it. After all, she thought, what harm could a little kindness do? But one night, when she lay awake after another dinner with him, she remembered the way his hand had brushed her wrist as he said goodbye. His touch had been cold, not the usual cold of an air-conditioned room, something more strange. She brushed the thought aside. Maybe because he's just older, she told herself. But she didn't know that the real reason his touch felt cold was something far deeper than what she could ever imagine. Chief Raymond became a constant presence in her life. He called her every morning to ask how she slept, sent her money without reason, and surprised her with gifts. Clothes, shoes, handbags, even a brand new iPhone. In less than 2 months, Innie's life changed completely. Her friends started calling her lucky. And Chief Raymond? He never pressured her for anything. He never asked her for intimacy or favors. Whenever she tried to thank him, he would just smile and say, "I just want to make sure you're always happy and loved." Those words touched Innie's heart. In a world where most men gave with expectations, Chief Raymond gave freely. At least, that was what it seemed. She began to trust him more. Slowly, that trust turned into affection. She saved his number as Daddy Ray. And each time his name flashed on her screen, she smiled without realizing it. Weeks later, he invited her to dinner at his mansion. "Just the two of us," he said softly over the phone. "I want to see you in person again." Innie didn't hesitate. That evening, she wore her best dress, a simple but elegant wine-colored gown that hugged her perfectly. Her friends helped her with her makeup, teasing her endlessly. "Babe, this man is rich and really like you. Don't forget us." "Oh." She laughed, trying to calm her nervous excitement. When she arrived at the address he sent, she was stunned. The mansion stood tall, tucked behind a long row of palm trees. Its black gate opened automatically, revealing a marble driveway lined with flower pots and motion lights. Everything screamed wealth, quiet, heavy wealth. Chief Raymond greeted her at the door himself, dressed in a white native outfit, his wrist glinting with another gold bracelet. "Welcome, my dear," he said warmly. "You look beautiful." "Thank you, sir," she replied with a shy smile. As he led her inside, the living room was spotless. like something out of a magazine. The air smelled faintly of foreign perfumes, and classical music played softly in the background. But what struck Innie wasn't the beauty of the place. It was how cold it felt, not the cold of an air conditioner. Something else. A strange chill that made her skin prickle. She rubbed her arms lightly and looked around. "Your house is so beautiful," she said, trying to sound cheerful. He smiled. "I'm glad you like it." They sat and talked for hours. He told her stories about his business trips abroad, his empire, and shockingly, the loneliness of his wealth. Innie was surprised when he said that, but she quickly brushed it off. After a long, stretched hour, Chief Raymond walked toward a small table near the corner of the room. He picked up a tiny red jewelry box and turned back to her. "I have something for you," he said. Innie's eyes widened slightly. "For me?" He nodded, handing her the box. "Open it." Her fingers trembled slightly as she lifted the lid. Inside, resting on soft velvet, was the most beautiful gold chain she had ever seen. It shined faintly, even under the dim lights. The pendant at the center was made of black crystal. Innie smiled. "Wow, it's beautiful." Chief Raymond leaned closer. "This is my gift to you," he said softly. "Wear it always." She hesitated. "Always?" He nodded, his gaze calm but strangely intense. "Yes, it's special." Innie smiled shyly and lifted it from the box. The metal was cool against her skin as she clasped it around her neck. "How does it look?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Perfect. It was made for you." For a second, Innie thought his eyes glimmered, a faint golden reflection that vanished as quickly as it appeared. She blinked and brushed the thought aside. "Thank you, Daddy Ray. I really appreciate this." He touched her shoulder lightly. His hand was cold again, but she said nothing. As she left the mansion that night, she couldn't help but glance back one more time. The house stood in silence. No guards, no staff, no movement. She frowned slightly. Does he really live here alone? She wondered. Then she shook her head and smiled. Maybe he just values his peace. But she didn't know what was waiting for her that night. By the time Innie got home, it was already late. Her friends had already gone to bed, so she quietly entered her room and switched on the bedside lamp. The golden chain still sat beautifully against her neck, shining softly in the dim light. She stood before the mirror again, unable to stop smiling. It looked even prettier under her own light, elegant and delicate, like something meant for royalty. She whispered, brushing her fingers lightly over the pendant. "You really outdid yourself, Daddy Ray." She turned around, striking a playful pose, admiring how it caught the light from every angle. It glowed, faintly at first, then brighter, almost as though it was alive. She laughed quietly to herself. "You see me now, God? I'm finally living a small, soft life." But as she turned off the light and got into bed, something felt strange. Her neck began to itch slightly. At first she ignored it. Maybe the chain was too tight. Maybe it was just new metal reacting with her skin. She scratched lightly, adjusted her pillow, and closed her eyes. Minutes passed. Then came the heat. A faint warmth spread from her neck down to her shoulders. It wasn't painful, just uncomfortable. She sat up slowly, frowning. The room was dark and quiet. Reaching for her phone, she turned on the flashlight and faced the mirror again. The gold chain shimmered faintly under the light, the same way it had at Chief Raymond's house. But something about it looked different now. The pendant, a small serpent head that Innie never noticed at first, seemed slightly tilted. She leaned closer. For a moment, she thought she saw it move. Her heart skipped. "No, I'm just tired." She rubbed her eyes and looked again. Nothing. It looked normal. Still, she couldn't shake the unease building inside her chest. She reached behind her neck, trying to unclasp the chain, but it didn't move. She tried again, pulling gently this time. Nothing. She tried harder, her fingers shaking now. Still nothing. The hook had mysteriously tightened somehow, locking firmly against her skin. Her breath quickened. "What's wrong with this thing?" She ran to the mirror again, trying to twist it off. It didn't budge. Her fingers slipped once, twice. Then she froze. At that very moment, she heard a sound, faint, slow, hissing, sss, like the sound of a serpent. Innie's heart stopped. She turned slowly, eyes darting around the dark room. There was nothing, just silence and the faint hum of the fan. Her lips trembled. "Maybe I'm imagining things," she whispered, forcing a small laugh. "It's just my mind. I've been stressed all day." She climbed back into bed, covered herself with her blanket, and closed her eyes again. But even as she drifted toward sleep, the unease stayed. Something deep inside her, something quiet but certain, whispered that this wasn't ordinary. Her hand flew to her neck. The chain was still there. But the pendant felt warmer than ever. And as she lay there, trembling, she realized something terrifying. Fear, quiet, cold, and real, had already started building a home inside her. By morning, Innie's reflection didn't look the same. Her eyes were tired, her skin pale, and she could still feel the faint burning around her neck. She stood before the mirror, pulling her hair aside to get a clearer look. The chain gleamed softly, harmlessly, as if mocking her fear. She tried again to unhook it, using her fingernails, a pin, even lotion to slip the clasp loose. But it wouldn't move. It felt welded to her skin. Frustration turned to panic. Finally, she picked up her phone and called Chief Raymond. He picked on the second ring. "Daddy Ray," she said, trying to sound calm, "the chain you gave me is not coming off. I've tried everything. It's like it's stuck." There was silence on the line for a few seconds. Then came his voice. Deep, calm, too calm. "Don't worry, my dear," he said softly. "It's special. Just wear it always. It looks beautiful on you." Innie blinked. Her grip tightened around the phone. "But it's hurting me. I think I'm reacting to it." He chuckled, low and quiet. "You'll get used to it. It just needs to get familiar with you." "Familiar with me?" she repeated, confused. "Yes," he replied. "Just let it breathe." "Let it breathe?" she asked. But before she could finish, he hung up. Innie stood frozen, staring at her phone. Something in his tone, gentle yet cold, left her uneasy. That night, the itching came again. But this time, it wasn't mild. It started as a light tickle around her collarbone, then spread up her neck in waves of heat. Her skin felt like it was burning from the inside. She sat up abruptly, gasping. "What is happening to me?" Her mirror stood across the room, faintly reflecting her outline in the dim light. She reached for her bedside lamp and turned it on. Her heart skipped. The gold chain was moving, slowly, subtly. It twisted like something alive, wriggling faintly against her skin. Innie froze. Her hands trembled as she reached up, screaming and trying to pull it away, but the metal felt hot, scalding. She jerked her hands back. Then it happened. Right before her eyes, the pendant, the serpent-shaped head, began to change. The golden eyes blinked. The small mouth opened slightly, and for a moment she heard it. A faint, low hiss. Innie's throat went dry. The chain tightened suddenly, not hard, but enough to make her gasp. She stumbled backward, her breath coming fast. Jesus Christ! The chain tightened again. Her mirror reflected the impossible. The chain was no longer a piece of jewelry. It was moving, slithering, coiling up her neck like something alive. "Oh God!" she screamed, clawing at it. Her fingernails scratched her own skin, but the serpent kept tightening. Then, in a single horrifying motion, it slithered down her neck, transforming fully into a serpent now. The serpent wrapped itself around her throat, its scales glittering under the dim light, and its eyes glowing faint red. Innie screamed. Her voice echoed through the room as she fell to the floor, fighting the invisible weight pressing against her. "Help! Somebody help me!" The serpent's body coiled tighter, squeezing until her vision blurred. She felt its cold, wet tongue flick against her cheek. Then everything went black. When she opened her eyes again, sunlight streamed through her window. For a moment, she didn't move. Her body felt weak, her throat sore. She sat up slowly, clutching her neck. The chain was back, perfectly still, as if nothing had happened. But her skin told a different story. Right where the pendant rested were two small marks, red and round, almost like bite wounds. Her heart pounded. "No, this can't be real." She ran to the mirror. The marks were there, clear and fresh. Tears welled in her eyes as she wondered what could be happening to her. And then her phone buzzed. It was her best friend, Tola. Without thinking, Ini grabbed her bag and rushed out of the house. When Tola opened the door, she froze. "Ini, what happened to you?" Ini didn't even answer. She just walked in and collapsed on the couch. Tola's eyes widened as she noticed the chain. "Wait, what's that on your neck?" Ini hesitated. "A gift," her voice was low. "From someone." "From who?" "A man I've been seeing," Ini said weakly. Tola frowned, moving closer. "And you said it's not coming off?" Ini nodded. "Yes, I've tried everything." "Look." She pulled at the clasp, twisting it, but it wouldn't move. Tola reached forward to help. "Let me try." The moment her fingers touched the chain, she froze. It was vibrating, faintly, but enough for her to feel it. She snatched her hand back as if burned. "What was that?" she asked in fear. Ini shook her head helplessly. "I don't know." "Ini," Tola said, her voice trembling, "this thing is not normal." They stared at each other for a moment, both breathing heavily. Then Tola stood abruptly. "We're going to see this man." Right now, they boarded a cab, and the drive to Chief Raymond's mansion was silent, except for the sound of Ini's heavy breathing. She couldn't explain why her body felt colder the closer they got. When they arrived, Tola walked up to the gate first. A middle-aged gateman stood there wearing a faded uniform. "Good afternoon," she said politely. "We're looking for Chief Raymond." The man looked puzzled. "Who?" "Chief Raymond," Ini repeated from behind her. "He lives here." The gateman stared at them for a long moment, then shook his head slowly. "Madam, nobody lives here again." Ini blinked. "What do you mean nobody lives here?" "I was here just last few days ago." The man sighed. "Ah, madam. Chief Raymond died 2 years ago." Tola frowned. "What are you saying?" "We just saw him." "I'm telling you the truth," the gateman said firmly. "He used to live here alone. Died in this same house. They said strange things happened before he died. Some people even say he was into dark things." Ini's lips parted slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "That's not possible. He can't be dead." The gateman only stared back at her, pity in his eyes. "I'm sorry, madam, but I know what I'm saying. I've been working here for over 5 years. I saw his burial myself. I've been the one guarding this place. Maybe you came one of the days I left to see my family." Ini stepped back, her head spinning. Her knees went weak. The world around her felt distant, like a dream she couldn't wake up from. Her hands moved to her neck. The chain felt colder than ever. "Ini," Tola said softly, "are you okay?" But Ini didn't answer. Her breathing quickened, her eyes unfocused. She whispered slowly, almost to herself, "If he's dead, then who have I been seeing?" Tola reached for her arm, but Ini jerked away, trembling. "I need to leave," she whispered. "I need to get this thing off me." She ran toward the car, tears filled her eyes. The gateman watched the car drive off, shaking his head. "Every year, one fine girl like this comes here," he muttered under his breath. "And every year, it's the same story." Back in the car, Ini's phone rang. She looked at the screen, and shockingly, it was Chief Raymond. Her hands shook violently. Tola stared in disbelief. "Don't pick it," she said in a shaky voice, but Eni couldn't resist. She pressed the green button, her heart thudding so loudly she could hear it in her ears. "Hello?" she whispered. Silence filled the line at first. Then came the voice. Soft, calm, familiar. "I told you to always wear it," Chief Raymond said slowly. "It looks beautiful on you." Eni screamed, and the line went dead. Her phone slipped from her hands and fell to the car floor as the cold spread through her chest once more. The chain shimmered faintly under her blouse, alive again, and this time, Tola saw it too. By the time Tola got Eni home, she was trembling all over. Her eyes were red from crying, her voice weak from screaming. She kept touching her neck, whispering, "It's cold. It's still cold." Tola tried to calm her down, but Eni could barely breathe. "Tola, he called me. Chief Raymond called me. His number showed on my phone." Tola held her shoulders. "Calm down, Eni. You need to rest." But rest was impossible. Every time Eni closed her eyes, she saw his face smiling at her now, and she heard that faint serpent hiss again, like the sound was coming from inside her own body. Finally, Tola made a decision. "We're going to see Mrs. Rhea," she said firmly. "That pastor has helped people in this area before. If anyone can tell us what this thing is, she can." Eni hesitated, fear clouding her eyes. "Do you think she can really help me?" Tola nodded. "We have to try." That evening, they arrived at Mrs. Rhea's small compound at the edge of town. The air there was quiet and heavy. The elderly woman sat outside after she had just finished praying for a woman. When she saw Eni, her gaze sharpened instantly. "Come," she said softly. "You've brought something with you. Something dark." Eni's heart skipped. "Ma, please help me. It's this chain." Before she could finish, Mrs. Rhea's eyes widened. She leaned closer, staring at the chain. Her face changed, from curiosity to something unreadable. "My daughter," she whispered. "Where did you get this?" Eni's voice shook. "It was a gift. From a man. Chief Raymond." The woman's hands curled instantly. "Chief Raymond?" she repeated slowly. Eni nodded. The old woman exhaled shakily, her wrinkled hands trembling slightly. "That man died years ago." Eni's knees went weak. I know. They told me. But he was real, Ma. I saw him. We met on countless occasions. Mrs. Rhea placed a hand on her shoulder. "He wasn't alive, my daughter. What you saw was his spirit, a restless one still feeding on the living." Eni's lips quivered. "What do you mean?" she asked, already shaking. The elderly woman's eyes darkened with something like sorrow. "Before he died, he tied his spirit to certain things, objects that carried his energy. That chain you wear is one of them. Every woman who accepts it becomes his link to this world." Tola gasped softly. Eni felt the air leave her lungs. "So, he's using me?" The woman nodded slowly. "Yes. Every lady who wears it becomes part of his wealth in the other world. Their lives feed his spirit. The beauty, the luck, the money, it's all borrowed energy. But it comes with a cost." Eni's eyes filled with tears. "A cost?" The woman's tone grew grim. "If you hadn't come here before the 7th night, his plan was for you to follow him, to join him completely." Eni stared at her, frozen. "Join him? You mean die?" The old woman nodded again. Tola covered her mouth, whispering, "Jesus Christ!" Eni fell to her knees, sobbing. "Mama, please, I don't want to die. Help me. Please help me." The woman helped her up gently. "You won't die, my child. But you must listen carefully." She reached for a small bottle from her shelf, filled with anointing oil. "This is not just oil," she said. "It's a seal. Tonight you'll pour it around your body while praying. Don't stop until your voice shakes the walls. The chain will fight you, but don't be afraid. Fear is what feeds it. Innie nodded, clutching the bottle tightly. Before midnight, the woman continued, you must do this. Because when the seventh night begins, that's when he comes to claim his victims. Innie's tears fell freely now. She swallowed hard, nodding. Her whole body was shaking. After a long, fervent prayer, Mrs. Rhea placed her hand gently on her shoulder. Remember, she said softly, light and darkness cannot stay together. Tonight you must still fight to be free through prayer. After they went home, Innie didn't sleep that night. She sat on the floor of her room, trembling, clutching the small bottle Mrs. Rhea had given her. Tola sat nearby, too scared to leave. Are you sure you want to do this alone? She whispered. Innie nodded weakly. She said I have to. The fight is between me and it. She began pouring the oil around her, in a circle, just as Mrs. Rhea had instructed. The smell filled the room, strong and sharp. Then she rubbed a few drops on her palms and neck, whispering the prayer the old woman had taught her. At first, nothing happened. The night was still, too still. But as the clock neared midnight, the air changed. The light flickered once, twice. Then she heard it, faint at first, then louder. Shh! Innie's breath caught. Her body stiffened as the sound came again, this time from her neck. She looked down slowly. The chain glowed. The pendant's tiny eyes blinked. Her scream tore through the silence. Jesus! Please help me! She cried, backing against the wall. The chain lifted slightly, twisting like a living thing. The serpent's form began to emerge again, its golden body wriggling, its tongue flicking the air. She grabbed it, trying to yank it off, but the more she pulled, the tighter it wrapped. Her vision blurred as pain shot through her neck. Tola! She screamed. But Tola couldn't move. She stood frozen at the door, watching in horror as the chain glowed brighter and brighter, wrapping itself around Innie's throat like a noose. Innie, pray! She shouted with tears in her eyes. Innie gasped, forcing the words out through her choking breath. Lord, please, help me. At that very moment, the oil bottle slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor, spilling everywhere. The scent grew stronger, filling the room. Then, a sound. A loud crack, like something snapping in half. The serpent hissed, louder this time, writhing in pain. Innie screamed as its coils loosened, falling apart in flashes of golden light. The lights in the room flickered violently, and then, darkness. When Innie opened her eyes again, sunlight filled the room. Her throat burned, her head throbbed. She sat up slowly, her eyes darting around. Tola was asleep by the door, her face streaked with tears. Innie's gaze dropped to the floor, and there it was, the chain. But it was broken now. Its once glowing surface was now dull and lifeless, and right where it had been were two deep marks on her skin, shaped like the bite of a serpent. She touched them gently. Tears filled her eyes. She was weak, but alive. She took the chain, wrapped it in a piece of cloth, and threw it into a burning metal drum outside. As the fire consumed it, a faint hiss rose again, this time softer, weaker, and then it was gone. That was the last time Innie ever accepted jewelry carelessly. And the last time she ever saw Chief Raymond. And to her biggest shock, when she later tried to call his number, the phone said, "This number does not exist." It was as if he, and everything about him, had never been real. And Innie learned the biggest lesson of her life. Lesson from this story. Besties, please be careful. Not every gift is a blessing. Some are traps wrapped in gold. Innie learned that night that everything that glitters truly isn't gold. The wealth she thought came easy almost cost her life. When life hands you luxury too quickly, look twice, because sometimes it comes with a price your soul cannot afford to pay. Have you ever heard stories like this, where someone received a gift that later turned out to be cursed or mysterious? Do you think Innie was too greedy or just unlucky? Would you have accepted the chain if you were her? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to African Tales by Imade for more shocking and real-life inspired stories that teach unforgettable lessons. See you in the next one.